My name is Jeannie Pence, and I hope you'll follow our blog. It's jeanniepence.com. Well, today I'm going to make some homemade pimento and cheese. My husband came in this morning. He said, I want pimento and cheese. And he said, I want that creamy kind. Now, I make pimento and cheese different ways, and I don't typically follow a recipe. We have a recipe or a version, I guess, of the Masters golf tournament. And you use, like shredded sharp cheese and some shredded sharp cheese, can't talk, and some Parmesan and so forth. I like that. I like my pimento cheese to have a little texture to it, and I like for it to have a little bit of a sharp bite, sometimes with like a little bit of garlic. But what he said he wanted today was, I want some of that creamy Velveeta kind. So I thought, well, what better recipe to use than my Aunt Mildred's. Now, this notebook is probably 40 years old, but I have written down, some of my favorites, and Aunt Mildred's pimento and cheese is one of them. My mother she had several sisters and brothers, but she had a couple of sisters that lived close by, and Aunt Mildred and Aunt Winnie were two of them. Of course, they're all gone now, but between Mother and Aunt Mildred and Aunt Winnie, they were like the Golden Girls, I think, and they were funny, and they were extremely good cooks, and we're very fortunate to still have some of their recipes. So today I'm going to do Aunt Mildred's pimento and cheese, and it calls for melting your Velveeta in a double boiler. Now, you don't have to make this in a double boiler. You could do it in the microwave. You could do it carefully, in a saucepan. But using a double boiler may be old school, but it's an easy way to do melt something where your chances are not letting it burn. So I'm just going to put a couple of cups of water down in the pan, and go ahead and turn that on and let that be getting hot. Don't laugh at my cookware. We've been married 52 years, so my cookware is 50 years old at least. So anyway, still using it. So this is the double boiler, and if you don't have a double boiler, you can get by with put a pan on, put the water in it, and then put a smaller pan in it. You just want that. It's just going to create steam, and that's going to make your stuff melt easy and safer. Now, if you make your own double boiler by stacking two pans together, you have to be careful that the water, as it boils underneath the second pan, that it doesn't splash up and get in your whatever you're making. It probably wouldn't hurt the pimento and cheese, but if you were melting chocolate, you wouldn't want those droplets to get up in your chocolate. Let me get my cheese. Velveeta, and it calls for a pound of Velveeta. This is a 2-pound box, so let me, and I use original Velveeta. There's some things that I am a stickler for on brands, and Velveeta's one of them. So we're gonna cut this in half, and I'll put that in the refrigerator later. And we're just gonna slice this up in chunks and put it in that double boiler. I was thinking about Mother and her sisters. Like I say, they were funny. My mother, she had more of a sarcastic type humor. But Aunt Mildred and Aunt Winnie, they were funny, y'all. They really were. I think if I was going to have to describe them as the Golden Girls, Aunt Mildred would be Dorothy. And Aunt Winnie would be Rose. And Mother, she doesn't really, I wouldn't say fit the description of Blanche, but you know, she was no nonsense. She was pretty. But anyway, it's just fun to think of them from time to time. Now, once this starts boiling, I can turn the temperature down a little bit. Of course, I got gas. So it just needs to be just a, you know, just a slow boil to create enough steam to make this melt. Okay, so it calls for the 1/2 pound of Velveeta, 1/3 cup of milk, and it calls for a tablespoon of vinegar. Now, the only vinegar I had in the house was apple cider. I am guessing that Aunt Mildred's recipe is, you know, it's 50 years old. The vinegar she probably used was just that brown kind that comes, you know, in a jar, or, you know, the white. But, you know, I don't remember my mother ever keeping the white vinegar in the house. It was always just the old brown vinegar that they used to make pickles with and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, but this is apple cider. It's what I have. So that's what we'll use. Now we're also going to add the pimento, but we're going to let this melt first, and then I'm going to add the a can. Well, it called for a small can of pimento. My pimento is a regular jar size. My pimento is a 4-ounce jar, but we like a lot of pimento, so you know, if that's may have more pimento than one of those little small cans. I'm not sure, but that's what we're going to use. Let's see if we can get this open. And here's a little trick, y'all. When you're getting, you know, my age or older, sometimes it's a little bit hard to open things like, you know, jars and things. Now you can take, you know, sometimes I'll take something heavy and tap it, but I like to take just a tourniquet and put on that, and it helps you get a better grip, and you can open it. So next time you go to the doctor's office and get lab work drawn, when the lab tech gets through with the tourniquet, ask if you can have it. And it didn't say in her recipe if you drain the juice off or not. Since I added the 1/3 cup of milk, I am going to drain the juice off the pimento because, you know, I don't want to give it too much extra liquid, because she just didn't mention that. So I'm going to drain the juice off the pimento because it's probably another tablespoonful or two. Turn that down a little bit more. It's just about fully melted. I'm going to go ahead and put that whole jar of pimento in. Looks good. Can you see that? When I've got my camera up there, I never know where to look. I don't know whether to look at the camera or look at the top, so just bear with me. Okay, so that is fully melted. These handles are hot. See how good that looks? Now I'm going to let that cool just a little bit, and then I'm going to stir in my mayonnaise, so I'll be right back. Okay, so it's cooled a little bit. You know, it's not cool by any means, but you know, it's not really hot. Okay, that contrast this up a little bit. Okay, but that's sort of what it looks like. It does, you know, like I say, it's going to look kind of thin right now, but after it sits in the refrigerator for a while, it'll thicken up. So we're going to use a cup of mayonnaise. Now, I use Kraft. Kraft or Blue Plate. Kraft is my favorite. Now, we could debate mayonnaise all day long and never come to an agreement. Mayonnaise or salad dressing, but I like Kraft or Blue Plate. I'm not opposed to Hellmann's or Duke's. But now, you know, if I go to the grocery store and they're out of Kraft, I'm not going to have a meltdown. I will just get Blue Plate and go on about my business. But now I got a friend, and she knows who she is. She likes Duke's. And, you know, that's all she uses all the time. So that's fine. You know, we all have our preferences. I don't really like store brand. I've tried a time or two, especially, you know, back in the younger years when I probably didn't have quite as much freedom to buy whatever I wanted at the grocery store. But we just never found an off brand that we like. Now, I'm not saying that they're not out there, and they may be, but we never did find one. So we stick to Kraft or Blue Plate or Hellmann's most of the time. Okay, so there. I know there we go. That contrast is up so high. But anyway, so that's it. And then I'm just gonna spoon it. I'm gonna try to pour it into this plastic container and put it in the refrigerator and let it get, you know, fully cool. So we had 1 pound of cheese and a cup of mayonnaise, so you wind up with, you know, I don't know how many cups that is. Maybe 3 cups of pimento and cheese. Something like that. And I hope you'll check out my blog. It's jeanniepence.com. I've got some recipes on there, and just sometimes it's just some stories, some crafts. I do like to show you some things that I find from time to time. I did a post the other day that was on some really, really good stainless steel mixing bowls. I have one of them. I have one of them behind me. I was thinking that when I mixed the mayonnaise into the cheese, I was going to transfer the cheese into my new mixing bowl. But then I thought, what the heck, there's no point in messing up an extra bowl. But this is them, they're Viking. And they were a set of 5, and the largest is like 8 quarts, which is really big. And it's like 8 quart, 5 quart, 3 quart, 1.5, and then a 20 ounce, and they have sealable lids. But anyway, that's on another post, and that's out there if you want to look at it. So that's my pimento and cheese, or my Aunt Mildred's pimento and cheese. It's good. It's not bad. Warm. We'll make a good dip with chips warm. So that's it. We'll put it in the refrigerator and come back and make some sandwiches. Okay, there it is, all finished. It's thick and creamy, ready to spread on the bread. Velveeta pimento and cheese.